It's recognized that once a student has completed 2 years of science courses, including Regents exams, that it's a time for them to be offered choices, and I'm here to make a case that Regents chemistry might be a good one. Some of the reasons why Regents chemistry might be a good choice for students include that it cultivates interests and motivates students to go on further in their studies in the field of science. Another valid reason why students might choose to include chemistry in their studies for next year is that chemistry offers opportunities for students to distinguish themselves by the work that they do. So let's go back momentarily and look a little more closely at how Regents chemistry participates in solving the need for choices. Well, Regents chemistry's place in your high school career is that it is part of a pathway if you choose to go on to study science at the college level. Let's look at how it cultivates interest and motivates. Regents chemistry offers understandings and skills development in the context of steeper academic challenges. And through those challenges, and with higher performance expectations, students are given the opportunity to distinguish themselves from other students who may at some later date seek admission into the same competitive science program at a university or college. So let's briefly take a look at what's meant by higher performance expectations. So we're going to compare the endpoint for two different science courses. One of the science courses is one that you've already taken, Living Environment. The other one is Regents Chemistry, the course about which I'm making a case. We're going to compare what the expectations are for a student who will pass Living Environment and how that expectation compares to that for Regents Chemistry. What we're looking at here is referred to as a conversion chart, and this was used by your Living Environment teacher to score your exam at the end of the year. And here's how it works. There are 85 student responses, and they constitute your raw score. The maximum number of correct responses is 85. And then there's the scaled score, which is what you think of as your grade. Anyway, 85 out of 85 raw score is 100 on the scaled score. Let's take a look at what the passing raw score is. The passing grade is a 65, and the raw score required to get that is a 40. 40 out of 85 responses were correct. Let's look at another benchmark number, mastery. Any grade above 85 is recognized as exhibiting mastery in the subject. In order to be distinguished by the mastery designation, 66 responses needed to be correct. Let's get rid of this ugly table and just put the numbers that we're working with. 40 correct responses was passing, and 66 correct responses gave mastery. Now let's compare those expectations with those that we find with Regents Chemistry. Here is the conversion chart for Regents Chemistry, and let's find out how many of the 85 student responses are required to get a passing grade of 65, and we can see that the number is 50. Let's take a look at the mastery designation. Mastery is a grade of 85 or better, and students were required to respond correctly 75 times in order to get the 85 grade. Let's get rid of this ugly table and put the numbers that we're working with where we can use them best. Well, it's interesting to note that the passing grade in Living Environment required 40 correct responses, and that for Regents Chemistry 50 is expected. A student that will pass Regents Chemistry will get 50 or better responses, in the place where Living Environment students get 40 or better. Mastery is also higher, and it's quite challenging to get 40 responses to grow into 50 correct responses. In fact, a grade of 73 on the Living Environment exam is at the failure level for performance on the Regents Chemistry exam. Let's now look briefly at just why the differences in scoring make good sense for Regents Chemistry. Consider this to be the pathway through high school in your science areas. We begin with middle school, and we can end up at two different possible outcomes: college level science or other pathways in life. And Regents chemistry takes its place on the pathway to college level science study. All students in the high school will take earth science. That's on the pathway to both college level science and other pathways. Living environment is also on the road for both pathways. And sometimes living environment is in front of earth science, and sometimes earth science is sequenced following living environment. It really doesn't matter much. Either way, students are required to get 2 Regents exam scores, and this is where they get them. Now, there is no requirement for a 3rd exam for science, and that's where science electives make their contribution, as they're part of the pathway for any person who is interested in something other than studying science at the college level. Now, one might ask, well, what's the real difference between these two pathways? And the answer is mathematical reasoning. There's a strong component or requirement for mathematical reasoning in both physics and in chemistry. Students will have to express mathematical reasoning in the written form in order to be successful in chemistry or in physics. And that's simply less so in the science electives. Well, then how does all this translate into the scoring differences between living environment and chemistry making sense? Well, here's the logic. When you are entering college-level science programs, you're among a pool of candidates for placement, and those candidates do not include people who are not interested in science. You will be compared not against people who have no interest in science. You'll be compared with people who have demonstrated an interest in science. So, it turns out there's a different set of expectations awaiting us, and ultimately they make us stronger candidates for the programs that we want. The purpose of this video ultimately is to share with students the descriptors that make Regents chemistry right for them. And one of the descriptors is that Regents chemistry is the pathway to college level studies in science. Regents chemistry offers steeper academic challenges for me, and that there will be higher performance expectations made in the course. Well, looking at the pathway to college level science, ask yourself if this is true of you. I have considered my own interest and surveyed my options, and I'm interested in going on to pursue science at the college level. Consider whether or not you have demonstrated strong academic motivation in your work ethic. And consider whether or not you've made yourself ready to be measured against higher level expectations and standards in both math and science. And let's consider what it might actually look like in each of these questions if the answer is yes. If you've considered your own interest and surveyed your options, do your teachers know that you like science? And in demonstrating a strong academic motivation and work ethic, is your current homework average 85 in all the subjects? Does your schedule include a math course next year that's challenging, like Algebra 2 trigonometry, or perhaps a higher level math? So let's hone in a little on you and get rid of some of the noise on this page. If your teachers know that you like science, and if your homework averages are all above 85 and on your schedule for next year, you've already got in mind there will be a challenging math course, please be encouraged to take Regents chemistry along with your other subjects. And rest assured that right now, the chemistry teachers are upgrading and preparing for you in our classrooms next year.